Hello, my name is Laura. You're watching the Beanbird 2 channel where we talk about testimonies and the goodness of God. And today we were remembering a time when the Lord was good to us. And it really resonated with us in that it wasn't something that was super important but in a way it just showed God's hand on the little things. And I love to share those things because it shows that God has his hand in all the details of our life, big and small. So when we lived in our old house, we had a sloped backyard, and we always talked about if we were to move that we would want a house with a flat backyard because the slope made it so we couldn't really build back there or do much with the yard because the slope was so severe. And when we ended up moving into this house, this neighborhood, this was new construction. So when we were originally shopping for which lot we were going to get, they were just lot numbers in the woods. And we looked at 3 lots that were available, and the way it worked was they had lots that were open and they were available to be picked from and you could put a deposit on them, and they had lots that were closed because they had not yet been released for sale. So there were 3 that were available for us to put a deposit on, and we looked at those 3 properties, and the one had woods in the backyard. And so the realtor lady was telling us, oh, you would love the one with the woods in the backyard. And we looked at the land and it looked good, and we were like, okay, we're going to go with that one. And so we put our deposit on that lot, the one with the woods in the background. And she had written up the paperwork and she wrote the lot number on it. But after we got home, my husband was looking at the paperwork and he saw that the lot number that she wrote down was actually not the one that we had viewed. It was the lot number for one of the properties that had not yet been opened or released for sale. And so when he brought it to her attention, he said, you know what, I noticed that the lot number is different. And she looked at it and she realized the mistake that she had written down a lot number for one of the ones that had not yet been released. And she said, you know what, you already put your deposit on it. Let's just keep it, and we'll let you have that lot. And when it opens up, we'll just, we'll switch all your paperwork to that one. And that's what we did. And what ended up happening after the houses, when they started building the lots, they tore down the trees, and then they have the bulldozers come in and they level the lots and they pad the lot for the house. And what ended up happening was that after all the homes were constructed, it turned out that the lot that we were supposed to get, the one that we thought we were getting, the one that was open at the time of our contract, that property ended up having a slope in the backyard that after the house was padded and the lot was cleared, once they did all that, the slope in the backyard was so severe, it was pretty much like a cliff in the back. It was like there was a house and then it was just like straight down, and it was just really, really sloped. So, and the lot that we ended up getting by mistake ended up having a way flatter backyard. And that one wasn't even supposed to be available because it was not released to be opened yet. And so today when we were talking as a family, we were talking about our backyard, and we were remembering, we're like, remember that according to the contract, we got this lot and it wasn't even opened yet. And the one we were supposed to get was the one next door, and that one has a lot that's severely sloped and almost unusable. And my husband said, you know what, God had our back. He knew the desire of our heart. He knew that we had been wanting a flat backyard, that we had been talking about it through this whole process. And we were like, it's almost like God was like, you know what, I can't do that to you guys. So we ended up getting this property, and God's hand was in the whole thing. And I like to remember things like that when we're going through difficult times right now. And, this weekend, over the weekend, that's always when we do our grocery shopping, and looking at the inflation and the prices, it kind of, it's shocking. And I keep thinking, how long are we going to be able to hold on? How long are we going to be able to keep this going? And, the prices just keep going up and up. And it makes me nervous when I see, the decisions that our nation is taking, and I see the movement of the global world and the falling away that's taking place. And sometimes I can feel like a little bit of panic creep in. But then I try to remember, like, the Lord brought us to North Carolina specifically, and the Lord brought us to this house. And even more specifically, the Lord brought us to this lot. And I don't believe that He did all that to just walk away and leave us stranded here. And really, in our lives, our family, we really rely on the Lord. We don't have extended family to fall on to for support. And I feel like the Lord has always kind of stepped in a special way as our Father to make sure that we're okay. And I think a lot of times I feel like our life is like a plate spinning like on a finger. Like if you have a finger and the plate is spinning, and I'm like just one, teetering, and it would all crash to the floor and break. And I feel like the Lord, it's His finger that's holding our family together, because we really are at any moment one step away from, complete disaster and ruin. Like when I think about, all we would need is like one huge medical expense, and, we could be bankrupt. Or what if my husband, who's the single provider of our family, lost his job? We would be done for. We don't have any fallback. We don't have any family to, move in with, or, to lean on. And I know that God knows that. And He's always been so faithful in being there to like take us through these steps and make sure that we have what we need in every single stage and phase of our lives. And we have gone through difficult times, but we never have been at a place where all the plates came crashing down. The Lord has always been there for us. And I think because we rely on Him so much in that way, He's just been so faithful to be there for us. And I try to remember that. I try to just always consciously remind myself of God and His faithfulness, and that He's not going to abandon us, and that, if it wasn't for Him, we would be ruined, because we can't hold this all together. We really do need Him, and He's just there. And I don't want to take that for granted. And I love seeing the little things that remind me that He is there. But really, our lives are fragile, and our health and finances, and God holds it all together. And if everything didn't line up just perfectly, it wouldn't work. And we see that even with our human bodies, that our bodies work, and what a marvel creation is. And they try to make embryos in little dishes. I was reading that they were trying to create life without the sperm and the egg. They were trying to manipulate it scientifically, and they said that they were close, but they weren't able to make anything that would sustain life. And it only works because it has to be exactly the right way. And the Lord, He's the one that knits us in our womb, and He knows exactly how to line things up to create life. And it's a beautiful thing. We see it all over creation, that everything is done so perfectly. The distance that the sun is from the earth. If the earth was any closer to the sun, it would burn up. If the earth was any farther away from the sun, then it would freeze us all out. But God knew exactly where to place the earth in relationship to the sun in the solar system. And not only that, with the relationship between the sun and the moon, when there is a solar eclipse, the moon is exactly the right size to create that eclipse effect over the sun. If the moon was bigger or smaller, it wouldn't work that way. but because the moon is exactly, I forget if it was like 400 times smaller or something than the sun, something like that. I feel like I remember that. It could be wrong, but whatever the number is, the moon is exactly the right amount of size different from the sun to make that happen. And God just plans everything so perfectly. And so that helps me trust him and know that he's got a plan for our lives, and he planned us right from the womb, and he continues to carry us. And so I like to hold on to that. Thank you.